Hello, my friends, and welcome to my porch in Lower Matacumbe Key, Florida. I've had a wonderful week here, spent time doing some planning on behalf of the church and thinking ahead about some of the programming of the church. And on the first Sunday, I'm back in February, I'm going to have a number of things to share with you about this time of prayerful discernment. But right now, I'm delighted to introduce to you my dear friend, Vilma Martinez. Vilma comes from Tegucigalpa, Honduras, and she has been visiting with me this week. Vilma and I have been friends, 22 years, I believe.
22 years, yes. Mm-hmm.
And we became acquainted when Vilma was the director of the Ambos Foundation in a small village called Sabana Grande. And that foundation was a nonprofit mission. It helped the at-risk children in that community as well as at-risk senior citizens. And the children were offered a feeding program, educational opportunities, and enrichment. And so it was a wonderful thing for that community. Vilma?
Okay,
Welcome to the U.S.
Yes, thank you very much, Susan. And it is a pleasure for me to be here and have a chance to send my greetings to everybody in Currituck County. And I will be glad to answer any questions you have for me, Susan.
Okay.
And hope they are really inspiring for the people that listen to them.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Welcome to the computer screens of some of the finest people you'll ever meet in your life, Vilma.
Thank you. I hope I do one day personally.
One of the things I think is so important and a great way to learn about other cultures is by asking questions. And so I wanted to give the folks back at home not only a chance to meet this wonderful friend of mine, but to have some questions asked that might give you an opportunity to know a little bit more about the country of Honduras and Central America. So Vilma, if you will, tell us first of all a little bit about your family and your world's greatest grandchildren.
Okay, thank you very much, Susan. My name is Vilma Martinez, and I was born and raised in Tegucigalpa, Honduras, which is the capital city of the country. And it is a very small town. It has about 1 million inhabitants, and it is in an inland city. Here I was, I studied in the American school, and that's why I speak English so well. And I also lived in New York for a while, so that is why I perfection it in that place. I studied photography and cinematography in New York and in Argentina. And I also spent some years in Spain. While I was in New York, you told me that you were interested in knowing what I was doing there.
Mm-hmm.
I was working with UNICEF, and it was just plain administrative work, but I enjoyed the city so much because it's the night and day city, and there's so many things to do here and learn. So I took advantage of that, and that's when I started studying photography.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And I decided to return to Honduras because I still had more things going on in my life.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Your husband Manolo also is a photographer.
Yes, he's a photographer and also a cinematographer.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we're not working on that anymore, because in Honduras it is a very it's not careers that will allow you to sustain yourself. So so we left it aside like a hobby. When we can, we do it.
Yes.
Yes, his name is Manolo, and he's from the country of Chile in South America.
And you have two daughters.
I have two daughters, yes, Margarita and Violeta, and I have 6 grandchildren, 2 of my husband and 4 of my own, and they are the best grandchildren in the world, like you say.
That's great. That's great. Vilma, when I first met you, it was following Hurricane Mitch. And Hurricane Mitch came through Honduras and absolutely devastated the country.
Yes.
There were mudslides everywhere. Thousands of people were lost and never found again through the mudslides. And I was told at one point that it set the infrastructure of Honduras back something like 50 years. It was catastrophic. And the foundation you worked with, Ambos, was founded by Holland Millis, who was a native of the town I was serving at the time in Newport, and he was a businessman in Sabana Grande. And Holland can make anything out of anything. And he was ingenious in ways that he was able to find products, however and wherever they were, to be able to help the people find shelter. He could fashion mattresses and pillows out of the simplest of items.
And I have items to really beautiful items made out of rocks and stones.
Yes, yes. And so that was his task at that point, and he was quite the entrepreneur in helping people in that village who had literally lost everything. And as you all were meeting the needs of these people, you realized that it was just abject poverty in the village, and the children were malnourished, and the seniors had no safety net unless their children had jobs away and could send money home. Tell us a little bit about your work with Ambos.
Okay, the most important thing we did at Ambos was we had these two important programs, like Susan said already, that were the feeding programs and the education and scholarships and helping the children out. The feeding program was addressed to seniors who were at risk because they had no one to take care of them, and they had no jobs, no money, and because in Honduras, when you're old, you don't get a job, and it's impossible to work anymore. So the feeding them was very important for them because they wouldn't have been able to get their daily food if it weren't for that program. And the children also had a feeding program, which was like, I don't know, how do you call merienda, escolar? That it's something you eat, to sustain yourself during the morning, like a bread. It's not a complete breakfast, but just like a snack.
They were snacks.
Snacks, yes. And they also had lunch as well. And also they got shoes and clothes donated because they come from very poor families, very low income families, and they really needed it. And we were remembering with Susan the other day how Mr. Milt, let him rest in peace, always had tears in his eyes when he remembered this girl getting a pair of shoes that she loved so much, and they didn't fit her feet, So her parents had to cut the top part of the toes, even if they stuck out, so that she could wear the shoes. And every time he told the story, he would have tears in his eyes. It was very touching. So this lasted very long, for many years, and it really was helpful for all these families that were at risk and with low incomes at home.
Yes, the Mr. Milt that she mentioned was our oldest team member, went many years after his wife passed away, and he was our hardest working team member. He was our taskmaster on the work team. Vilma, what warmed your heart the most during those years that you were working at Ambos?
Well, to see the happiness they felt every time they received these donations, for example, and the satisfaction of being assured a meal every single day. That was really satisfying, and really to see the gratitude in their eyes. Exactly that.
Oh yes, yes. You know, through the years, the first year I went, you could see the children who were malnourished. They were much smaller than their age.
Yes.
And as the years progressed, and they were fed and given milk and some of the proper nutrients, it was just phenomenal to see them how they were growing into healthy children.
As well as to see their growth in educative and cultural.
Yes.
Well, their educative and cultural growth. One thing I
Yes.
was gonna say, please excuse my English, because sometimes, I get all confused with the words and the order, because in Spanish it's very different. And lately I haven't been practicing it very much, so until I came here again, well, but I try my best.
Your best is just wonderful.
Okay, thank you.
I want to focus a little bit now on Honduras and get a little glimpse into the beautiful country of Honduras.
Okay.
What are some of your country's most famous dishes?
Okay, we have two very, very famous dishes, which would be what we call the pupusas. And the pupusas are, they're made of like corn duff or corn masa, we call it. And you can, they're stuffed with either pork rind or beans, or there's some plants that you use like loroco, we call it, to fix them as well, and or you can do them mixed with among those things, and you make round thing. You make them round. You make the masa mixed with all that stuff, and you either cook them fried, or you can do them in what we call a comal, which you put in the stove and heat, and then when it's very hot, you put them on top, and that's how you cook them. And that would be one of them. You eat it with, I don't know, how do you call that, onion, and it's a mixture of onions and carrots and
It's
hot
like a slaw.
peppers, yes, and mixed in vinegar, and that's what accompanies the pupusas. It's delicious. I assure you, you would love it. And the other food dish that is very famous is the tamales. The tamales are especially done in Christmas, and it's the main food for everybody. This is also based on corn masa, and you put pork and chicken and olives and raisins, all sort of things. Wrap everything up in a plantain leaf and cook them for about an hour, and it's a delicious plate.
Yes. When Pastor Susan goes to Honduras, those are her favorite things. In Honduras, the primary language is Spanish. Primary religion is Roman Catholicism. Currency in Honduras is called the lempira. They call them limps. And 5,000 limps equals today $202.50 in US dollars. If I were to ask you to recommend, say, someone went to Honduras, what would be a place you think they would absolutely need to see?
Okay, I would recommend two places mainly. This would be in the north side coast of the Honduras, out of the inland. We have the Bay Islands, which is 3 islands called Roatan, Utila, and Guanaja. They're really beautiful places. They're full of palm trees and really white sand beaches, and they're famous for diving and diving and snorkeling sports, and you have really gigantic and thousands of coral reefs, different varieties. It's really, really beautiful. And also the amount of fish species you have, you can, they're uncountable because there's so many. And then the other place that I would recommend would be on the western side of Honduras, which is the archaeological Copan ruins, which was built by the Mayan civilization way back in 1000 BC. They started building it. And it was a very famous astronomical and astrological center, which did very important studies and discoveries. And besides, they were also artistic, completely artistic. All their sculptures are carved so nicely and perfectly that, it's really amazing.
Yes, I had the privilege of going there, and it was quite a place. Quite a place. What are some of the things that make you proud, Vilma, to be from Honduras?
Well, the few things that make me proud is that I know it's a country that is inhabited by very hardworking people. It's a hard country to live in because work is scarce, and there's a lot of poverty. Well, but the people work hard to get over it. And it is so beautiful that it has the largest wilderness area in Central America. And the places are so, there's so many beautiful places to visit and to see that that you don't get tired of even going back. And also the climate is delicious. It's not hot, it's not cold, and it's like that all year through. Only when there are these, special things that happen that we have a bad climate.
Vilma's brother works with the Department of Tourism in Honduras, and Ricardo would be very proud of you for that
Yes.
plug.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I'm doing. Thank you.
In the U.S., we hear a lot about immigrants making the way to the border, and we can only imagine how frightening it is to place your life in the hands of someone called a coyote
Yes,
to
and
deliver
with
you
children, and with
and
your
your children to deliver you out of Central America over to the U.S. border. And gangs and poverty and drugs and violence, it's a reality in Honduras and throughout Central America. Vilma, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges facing your country today?
Well, there's so many. I couldn't end the listing them, but I think two of the most important ones would be the extreme poverty we have, which precisely caused the migration to the United States. It's thousands of people leaving constantly. So the new government is hoping that with their new laws and everything the things they're trying to do, this migration might stop, and we all hope so too. And well, the other thing would be the lack of education. There's a severe lack of education of the majority of the population, and that's another reason why people leave.
Yes, yes.
And like everybody knows, there's a lot of corruption there has been a lot of corruption in the government, and we're hoping that this will change again.
Well, in closing, what might you wish for the good people back in Currituck County?
Well, for the people in Currituck County, which I had such a hard time learning the name, but I'm sure we're beautiful people. I send you my best wishes. I heard from Susan, learned from Susan that you are all working very hard on new projects and are very excited about it. So I want to wish you the best of success and that everything comes out like just like you people want it to come out. And I'm sure that well, if Susan is going to be involved in it, for sure it's going to be a success.
Thank you, Vilma. That's
Okay.
sweet.
Okay.
On Tuesday, tomorrow, I'll be taking Vilma up to Pembroke Pines, which is north of here, to spend a few days with her daughter and her family who live there.
My grandchild, which I
Yes.
have met only once when he was 3 months, and
Yes.
now he's almost a year old. Mhm.
Yes, Grandma's ready for me to crank up the car and get her rolling.
No, I've been enjoying so much. I'll be sad to leave you, Susan. Please.
And on Thursday, my Raleigh cousins will be flying in, Sally and Cambria. And many of you know and remember my best friend Linda from Fayetteville. She will be coming in on a second flight about 20 minutes after the cousins.
And I'm very sad that I won't be able to spend time with her because I also know her because she was one of the crew that came down to Honduras, and work in the with the foundation.
Yes.
So, but at least I'll get to give her a hug.
Yes, we were known as the Three Amigas.
The three amigas.
But so I'll be playing Uber the next day or so, and my cousins will be staying here through the 24th, and Linda will stay the rest of the time and ride back to North Carolina with me. Vilma, I hope the next time you're here, we can get you to Currituck
Well, me too.
And,
I really long for it.
and show you around and let you know.
And
a
meet
little
all
bit.
these beautiful people you talked to me about. I would love that.
Well, it's time for us to go.
Okay.
We have to be on the road in a few minutes. But as always, I thank you for this time to refresh and renew. This has been a wonderful time for me with my family and friends and to renew my spirit as I'm here back home in the incredible Florida Keys. So take care of each other and know that you are continually in my prayers. And may this be a good and blessed week for all of you. Bye-bye now.
Bye, people.